64 and clear blue. Transparent blue. I don't have the dark one.
God,
What are you guys doing?
playing Bit Trip.
Playing Luigi's Mansion.
You guys got to get out more. You're a couple nerds. You just sit around. You do nothing. You know what I did this weekend? Hocking State Forest. I was like a mountain man. I was a real man, one with the woods. I climbed the trees. I scaled the mountains. Check this stuff out, man. This is awesome. Look what I did. Look at that. See that? That's me. That's me up on top of a cliff. I scaled a cliff. Well, I took the path. But I was on the cliff.
What are you doing there on the cliff?
Well, that's awesome, isn't it? Look at that. I'm playing Mario Kart 7 right there. Isn't that great? Come on, man. I mean, look, Mario Kart 7 is really good. You know you like it.
No. Show me more of this outdoorsy adventure you had.
Look. Oh, look at that. That's a cave we went to somewhere.
You realize you're just playing 3DS in all of these pictures.
No, I'm out in nature. I'm one with nature in these pictures, okay? I was there. I was doing it. I walked. I broke a sweat.
There's a waterfall here. You're not even looking at it.
There's a waterfall. I didn't even see that. That's pretty, isn't it? Yeah, but I was playing Luigi's Mansion. See? Right there. You look at the smile on my face. I'm one with nature, and I'm there. I'm doing it.
That's great. That's really cool.
It's awesome stuff, man. I'm telling you.
Best of both worlds then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you got to get out. You got to do things. You can't just sit around here playing your games all day long. You know, you got to get out. You got to do things. And if you play games while you're there, that's fine too. But you have to go there first.
Whatever you say, man. I'm not doing that.
No. You know, I don't want to play anymore.
Neither do I.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Nerdko. I'm Josh.
And I'm Muzz.
And as always, we got a bunch of nerdy and geeky stuff to talk to you about today.
First thing we're going to do is talk to you about a little thing we did on Facebook called Gamers Travel. And to check it out, just jump on there and go to facebook.com/Gamers Travel. And it's really just all the pictures you saw in the skit we just did, as well as some from other people now where, you know, they took pictures of themselves gaming in different places and with their consoles in different places. And it was just something fun we did and thought it would be just neat to share. You know,
Yep.
I went to Hocking State Forest last weekend, and while I was there, I thought, I think I want pictures of me with my DS everywhere I go.
Yeah, there were a lot of awesome pictures
Yeah,
of that,
so
too.
that's it, and now I'm a mountain man, so.
Yeah, total, just outdoorsy mountain man.
Then what are we doing?
After that, Steve's going to do another retro showcase for us, so that'll be a lot of fun. Next, we're going to have a debate about Star Trek. I'm not going to let all that out quite yet.
Yeah, you'll find it interesting, and if you're a Star Trek fan, definitely stay tuned for that.
Yep.
And then we're going to go into our top 10 games of this generation. We thought we'd do this to celebrate this, our 10th episode of Nerdko.
Yep.
Hey, my fellow gamers, I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about system upgrades from the not too distant past and also from the distant past. And we're going to kind of go start from the more recent stuff and head backwards in time. So to start out, we wanted to first touch on the 3DS. The 3DS game system has an attachment device that upgrades it so that you can have two thumbsticks to play with on certain games. And it's got limited compatibility with certain games, but it's a really nice add-on. It feels good in your hands. It's a little bulky, but that's the example of the most recent system add-on that has been provided, and Nintendo came up with that. Also, if we go back a little further in time, we can remember the Nintendo 64, which had an expansion pack. You plug it right into the game system, and you could expect certain games to be looking really extra sharp. And a lot of people were quite happy when they found out they could get their system games looking maybe a little bit more sharp so that it could compete better with the PlayStation game system. PlayStation really didn't have any upgrade that's really worth mentioning here. If we go back a little further in time, we can talk about the Game Boy Advance, which had the e-reader. I've actually got one right here. The e-reader, you had multiple different cards here that you could take out of their little package and swipe. And this one is Donkey Kong Jr., a classic game from the 80s. And there were other ones that were from the NES era that allowed for gaming. They also had cards that did some other unique things. The e-reader was a unique add-on. Unfortunately, it's incredibly bulky. You can't put this in your pocket and travel around very easily. And it really didn't succeed too well here in the US, though in Japan it was a little more popular. All right, let's go back just a little further back in time and let's talk about the Atari, the Jaguar. Now this actually is an attachment device on top called the Jaguar CD. And you can just plug it in the top, and some people really complained about the appearance. It kind of looks like a toilet looks, but it actually does have some unique features that the Jag itself doesn't have. You've got more texture mapping because the games are on disc instead of cartridge. You had a memory card. Well, it's not a memory card, it's a cartridge. But the Jag CD actually had a number of games on it, most of which weren't really exploring its potential too well. And it ended up ultimately failing. But it's a neat little add-on. It's one of the first CD systems that had come out back around 1995. Let's go back even further in time. Now we're going to talk about the Genesis. There was the Genesis game system with its Sega CD add-on, which allowed, again, this is actually even before the Jaguar, to allow for CD access, which allowed for better game graphics, a lot more full motion video, which was very popular at that time. There's also the 32X, which was an add-on for right into the cartridge slot, which enhanced the graphics as well. So the Genesis had plenty of add-ons. That was Sega's thing to do. And then if we go back even further in time, we've got the Mattel Intellivision, and the Intellivision computer adapter had a keyboard. It was mainly for educational games. One comes to mind, Mind Strike. But these games were moderately educational, and it ultimately failed. Nobody really wanted to buy an Intellivision computer. They just wanted a real computer back in the 80s. Now we go back a little further in time, and I will mention here, this is where we're going to talk about the system I want to spend the most time on, the Atari. The Atari 2600 had an add-on called the StarPath Supercharger. The StarPath Supercharger is a cartridge device that plugs into a cassette player, of all things. And these games all came on cassette. This is Rabbit Transit, this is Frogger. These games, there's at least 9 or 10 or 11, or probably even more than that, made available for the Atari through the StarPath Supercharger. You just kind of plug the cartridge into the game system and you press the play button on your cassette player, and it feeds the data. It's not digital, it's analog, but it feeds it right into your Atari 2600. And if we allow it to run for a while, maybe it'll work. These cassette players sometimes feed the data in pretty slowly, so weren't you guys arguing about Star Trek?
That's right, Steve, we were. And here's the thing. Sleazy and I have been talking about who's the best Star Trek captain. And when you hear this argument, it's always what? Picard or Kirk, right? No one ever mentions the greatest Star Trek captain ever, Jonathan Archer.
Are you serious, dude?
Yes. Star Trek, as a whole, the Federation, it wouldn't exist without Jonathan Archer. He's the true pioneer. He was the first one to travel, into the stars, and he did it the hard way. He didn't have, all the luxuries that Kirk had, and especially Picard had.
Okay, here's the thing, though. My argument, I like Archer, I like Bakula, but Picard, man, he was assimilated and he came back from the Borg.
Yeah, but he didn't do that. His crew did that.
But it was a testament to his leadership that his crew was able to do it. Because of his guidance, they were able to do it.
Okay, so although I don't buy into that, that one event is your entire argument?
It is my argument.
For Picard being a better captain than Archer?
It's true. It is hands down true. Look, here's the thing. With Archer, Archer's the happy-go-lucky guy. Okay, so Picard is a hard-ass dude. Totally. He's way better captain than Archer is, for the simple fact that he's a better commander.
Okay, now, if you want to talk about being a hard ass, though, consider Archer needed warp coils. Remember that?
I do.
And what did he do?
He stole them from that ship.
He turned right around, he walked in, he took what he needed to save Earth. To save Earth.
That's right. That's right.
And he took what he needed. Now, we're talking about hard ass. His ship was in tattered ruins. His crew was flying out into space. They were all half dead. I mean, tell me a captain had to endure anything like Archer did.
Archer had it rough. There's no doubt about that. But
And he didn't have half the technology that Picard had. Picard
This is
had it
true.
pretty easy.
This
You
is
see the
true.
size of Picard's living quarters? His
Yeah.
captain's room, his ready room, whatever. And then Archer has this little one. It looks like Archer was inside a submarine.
Yeah.
You know? Picard, he had luxury, and he had everyone else to, you know, basically do the hard work. I mean, the guy was so frail and old, he couldn't really do anything himself.
oh, come on. The guy's 73 and he looks like he's 49 now.
So, yeah. Okay, well, I think in this one, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I believe Archer is, without question, the best captain in the Star Trek mythos. So, and I guess you're going to stick with
Picard, no BS.
Okay, so what do you think? Now, there's one thing we can agree on, and that's
The worst captain.
in the Star Trek universe, Cisco.
He's not even a real captain.
He just sits on a freaking
Space
a
station.
satellite, a space station, and guards a wormhole.
One hard battle with the Borg and he's done.
Yeah, that's it. So
Sissy.
Cisco, please, constantly breaking the Prime Directive, pretending he's some kind of religious icon for the Bajorans.
Yeah.
Ah, I hate Cisco. He's just
Now, who's our favorite non-Starfleet captain?
Commander Shran.
All the way.
Shran. Just brilliantly done. Not only is he a brilliant character, but Jeffrey Combs is a great actor.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch. And anyone who's watched Reanimator knows that.
He's phenomenal in everything.
He's everything he's in. He's always great. So yeah, Shran is in the rumor was that if they had continued the series another season, Shran was going to become like a main character, which would have been phenomenal.
We may get it, though.
We may get it.
If there's enough noise for Netflix, we may get another season of
Netflix
Enterprise.
is talking about picking it up, so you guys should all look into that. So what do you think? Who's your favorite Star Trek captain? You've heard our points, and don't say Kirk.
Picard, though. You want Picard.
Archer.
So yeah, we're going to try playing the Starpath Supercharger game on the 2600 with a Genesis controller. Yes, you can use a D-pad to control your Frogger, just like current day systems. And all you got to do is just plug that right in there. It works. Tell you what, nothing better. Well, okay, a lot is better, but that's enough.
All right, so now we're going to talk about our top 10 favorite games of this, the 7th generation of gaming. And I think there's a lot to talk about. These aren't in any particular order.
No.
Though we kind of hammered out a little something. We really talked about this a lot, debated about some of the titles we were going to include. And it's just been a heck of a time just coming up with this short list of 10 out of all the games we loved so much.
Oh yeah, I mean it's really a brutal process to look at an entire console generation, like 7 or 8 years, then come down to just like 10 that you feel like define it.
Right.
So I'm trying to take this a little bit with a grain of salt because it's basically our personal views kind of crunch into one. But we thought since everyone's so busy talking about the next generation, we go ahead and pay homage to the one that we're in right now. There's still a lot of good stuff coming too.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
what's your first one?
And it's Earth Defense Force 2017. This is a game that I got, it came out practically at launch for the 360 only. It's a great experience, and it's something you can play and you can play and you can play without having to worry about the story, or if you
Right.
pick it up 6 months later, you haven't lost too much because
Right.
it's very basic.
And see, I'm only minimally familiar with Earth Defense Force, but one of the things that I will say about it is it's one of those games that, like, It doesn't necessarily have a hugely compelling story because it's fun to play. And that's the thing, any game, no matter how compelling it is, if it's not fun, you're not going to play it. And Earth Defense Force doesn't have this problem.
No, it's just a great game. 5 difficulties, I think it's 53 levels.
Yep.
I mean, it's just lots of replay value and just lots of fun to play. And soon we will have Earth Defense Force 2025,
Yep.
and I couldn't be happier. It's a true sequel. We had Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon, which was a very Americanized version of it, and it didn't quite have the feel. It didn't pull you in.
Right.
It wasn't as campy. It just wasn't as fun. And this 2025 looks like it's going to have everything that the Earth Defense Force 2017 fans really loved. So let's go on to the next one. What's yours?
All right, the next one that I'm going to say is Braid. Very easy for me to say. Braid was a very beautiful game. It was a very fun game to play. A lot of people give Jonathan Blow kind of a hard time, but just because of the person he is, I think, which I think is really weird. But anyways, I felt that was just kind of a huge moment for gaming because it was like the indie game for a while.
Right.
Like it was like the definition of indie, and I think
Right.
it paved the way for a lot of other developers in that.
And there are a lot of good ones. I mean, you look and you play like your Limbo.
Oh, yeah,
and all
Super
those,
Meat
and
Boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just a lot of great ones. But Braid really is just artistically speaking a phenomenal game, and then gameplay is just it's out of this world.
Yeah.
And I remember like at the very beginning thinking this is so easy.
Yeah. Oh,
And then
yeah.
you get towards the end
Deceptively
and forget
so.
about it. I admit I jumped right on YouTube a couple times looking for videos. How the hell do I do this?
Right.
Because it's so infuriatingly difficult.
Oh, yeah.
That it baffled me at points. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my next one is Minecraft.
Another kind of indie-ish sort of game.
Right, yeah, and it's not so much about the depth of gameplay experience type thing. It's not like I'm looking for a story. Just I've never played a game that allowed me to create.
Yeah.
The way that Minecraft allows me to create. I love it. I think it's beautiful. And I built this ginormous structure. I didn't play it until it hit the Xbox 360.
Right.
So I had kind of a stripped down version of the PC version originally, and we had survival mode.
Right.
And I went in and built this structure in survival mode. And I mean, I spent weeks doing it, and still every now and then I still put it in and I play it because it's mindless. I don't have to worry about
Right.
whether, did I forget what's going on? No, because I'm just building a castle.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, I think one of the standout features for Minecraft is that it did a very good job of appealing to like two very specific camps of gamers. People that love the survivalist mode could kind of do that if they want to, and the people that just kind of want to treat it as like their giant personal digital Lego space could do that too. And the thing I think that really set it apart as well is it had an outstanding community of people online making mods and skins and all kinds of things, and YouTube videos of people making elaborate superstructures with the game's mechanics, and that was a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. It's just overall a great game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what's yours?
Next one I'm going to say is Portal 2. Now, I mean, I guess technically could have gone with the original Portal, but Portal 2 kind of gets style points for just being just an incredible follow-up to a game that, by all rights, in the first place, should not have been the mega success that it was. And Valve itself didn't really think that would be the case. It started off as a tech demo from some of their interns, and then it turned into just this massive franchise.
It was the reason to buy Orange Box.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everyone loves Half-Life 2, and that was great, and, everything the Orange Box included was great. But when it came right down to it, Portal was just this breakaway that no one saw coming. And I even played through it several times my first time. And you beat it that first time in like 3 hours, and you're going, well, is that a whole game?
Right.
But I don't think it was never meant to be a whole game. It was just meant to be filler for the Orange Box, and it turns out to be
Like,
the
reason.
Orange Box.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then that sequel was just outstanding.
Oh, yeah, and I think a lot of people would agree GLaDOS ended up being one of those iconic video game villains ever.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, although if you ask her, she doesn't even know she's a villain. She's
Right.
just following her programming. A
Exactly.
little bit insane.
Right.
But yeah, and just as an experience, the story mode was great. And you
Yes.
play through it, and there's everything. I mean, it's truly an in-depth gaming experience. But on top of that, it's funny.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's got all these different elements. But then you finish the story mode and you play through multiplayer mode and play it with a friend. It's outstanding,
Yeah.
and it offers you yet another story.
Yeah, not at all tacked on.
Right? No. It's a whole separate experience that gives you more story and gives you maybe something to grab onto for a sequel. So I'm really excited for more Portal in the future, and I can only imagine what they'll be doing if they do a Portal for the next gen console.
Oh, no joke.
So I'm excited about that. So next, my turn. I think I'll talk about Fallout 3.
Fallout 3. It's so good. It's just one of those things like Bethesda just turns out amazing experiences, and this was absolutely no exception.
Yeah. And you know, their games are worth mentioning because in this age of gaming, I don't feel like a lot of games are $60 titles.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we get the gameplay out of a $60 title that we deserve. And I mean, I don't mean just like an online deathmatch, type thing,
right,
or a multiplayer mode. I mean a gaming experience that allows me to do and experience so many different things.
A meaty, complete experience that stands on its own.
Right. And when I put in Fallout 3 for the first time, I beat it in like 16 hours.
Right.
And I didn't do anything. And I said, you know what? I'm going back to one save before I beat it. And then I explored. In like 230 hours later,
right.
I beat it again.
Like 6 months later.
Right. And it was one of the greatest gaming experiences I had at the time,
right,
up to the time, aside from Oblivion, which also offered me gameplay like that. But Fallout, for me, a little over Oblivion, and I know I'm going to get hate for that, but just that neo-50s futuristic, I just love that. I love the music in the game.
The presentation in that game was as much a star as the gameplay itself. And, bonus points for continuing the trend of hiring AAA voice talent for like 8 minutes. Yeah. And then just never hearing from them again.
So, what's your next one?
The next one that I have is kind of following the same vein. I'll say Skyrim. Now, the thing is, the Elder Scrolls series, clearly a very revered series by a lot of fans the world over. Skyrim was really the first one that I really kind of grabbed onto, though, and appreciated. Not just because it was, it's clearly beautiful, the voice acting was amazing, as kind of par for that developer. But it was the kind of experience where I stepped in and I didn't care really if I beat it. I was just happy to kind of be there and experience the world for what it was. It's an adventure very much in the sense that anything can happen, and it's really on you to choose your own path. And I have a lot of respect for those kind of experiences.
There aren't a lot of games where, like in Fallout and like with Skyrim and Oblivion and New Vegas and all those, where you can just start at one side of the map and just start walking that way, or that way, or that way.
And there's no penalty for it.
Right, and then finding something interesting along that path every time.
Right.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing that you can have a world that is that large geographically and yet so dense with the content that it offers.
Right.
Very, very, very rare.
Yeah.
So, what's next?
My next one would definitely be Skyward Sword.
Yep.
Now, this is a game I went into with high expectations, but I was not a fan of Wind Waker, nor was I a huge fan of Twilight Princess.
Right.
Now, I do love the Legend of Zelda franchise itself as a whole, and some of my favorite games of all time are Zelda games.
Right.
So I went into this game, seeing the screenshots and the videos and the trailers, thinking this looks really good, and was still blown away by how much I loved it.
See, that's a rare thing for any game, is to have the kind of hype there, and then to be excited about it, and then to have it not just deliver, but really exceed your expectations when you finally get your hands on the finished product.
And I would have never expected that. It was an amazing experience. I hadn't, since even like Ocarina of Time, felt that intense connection with the characters in the game as I did with Skyward Sword. I went in, I started playing, and as I played more and more and more, I loved the characters more. I loved being in that world more, and I loved experiencing everything more. It was just so good, and it felt like a true old school gaming experience, which is something you don't get this gen.
Yeah.
It wasn't a cookie cutter game. It was all new, and it was all, all these people who say all the Zelda games are the same they just must not play the games, because they don't. This is a unique and separate story within the whole Hyrule Historia.
Right. I've only beaten a few of the Zelda games. I only got to spend a very limited amount of time with this, but it definitely is something special. And even if you're not fully familiar with all of Hyrule's mythos, I guess, it kind of stands apart as something very special. You can kind of feel that, and especially since a lot of the Hyrule Historia reflected a lot of that content, almost more than anything else in the book, really.
Right, yeah.
I got to shoot a fun little video of that, and it's just Zelda's just one of those iconic series that it's always going to have that kind of entry, I think, from one generation.
And Nintendo does an amazing job of always pulling you in and always interesting. And the story I was telling you earlier that I'll share with the viewers now is I was playing Skyrim when Skyward Sword came out.
Right.
And I set Skyrim down to try it. 90 hours later, I put 90 hours into my first playthrough. I did everything you could do.
Yeah.
I cleared it, and it opened up that Heroes mode, and I looked over at my shelf. I'm sitting on my couch in my game room. I look over at the shelf, and there's Skyrim, and I said, I got to play through Skyrim now. and I hit start and I played through it again.
Wow.
And I
That is-
just that's how much I loved this game, and it toppled almost all others as my favorite Zelda game in the series. And if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. It's just phenomenal.
Right on.
So what's yours?
Okay, now something that I would be that passionate about is the next one that I'm going to go with, BioShock Infinite. Wow. Here's the thing. The quick story, the original BioShock I had no intention of playing whatsoever. I had heard hype leading up to it, wasn't interested, and then one day I was on the way home from work, I called a local game shop and was like, hey, anything new out? And they were like, that BioShock game's out. And I was like, I'll go ahead and pick up the collector's edition, I guess. What the heck? I'll give it a shot. Turned out to be an amazing series and just became one of those just like awe-inspiring moments. They gave us this cultural pinpoint in time for video games that was just unparalleled almost. An interesting phrase of words using unparalleled, because BioShock Infinite, you would think, would have no hope of living up to the hype of the original, especially not after 2 was kind of a spin-off that didn't have Ken Levine involved, so a lot of people were skeptical, and not quite as good as the original, but wow. Infinite brought amazing characters, and it managed to tie everything together in that universe without being hokey, without feeling tacked on, and without diminishing the original story that was told with those characters in the original BioShock.
Another thing I like about those games, the franchise as a whole, and I wasn't very much into the second one. I loved the first one, and just with all of them, this view of the future from the past.
Right.
You know, it's like in the 50s and 60s when you saw their idea of the future was flying cars, and now we're seeing an idea of the future from what it takes place in like 1912 or something.
In Infinite, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we're seeing their version of the future and all the technology and everything. It's just so cool. It's like a what if comic, you know?
And the other thing I love about that, to your point, is like it's so densely packed with these just kind of very magical moments. And the first time that I heard like the a cappella version of the Beach Boys, and I saw like that kind of floating ship come up, I literally just stopped and watched the entire performance. And it's not, in a lot of games, like you're kind of like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to go ahead and finish my next objective. It's a game that forces you to stop time and time again to appreciate all the mastery that went into creating this kind of world that you walk around in. So definitely BioShock Infinite. What do you got?
I really have to talk about the new Tomb Raider game.
Yes.
I think it really was one of the better gameplay experiences, and not only just to be a remake and be this good, but standalone as a game. If this had been the first Tomb Raider game, I still think it would have been one of the best games this generation.
Right.
And it really was outstanding. Although I can't believe the beating.
Oh no! I was like, don't mention. I want to talk. Ooh, you took it from. It's okay. But no, it's true. Like Lara gets brutalized more in the first 5 minutes of the Tomb Raider reboot than a lot of characters will get beat up in their entire franchise career.
And you'll find yourself like throughout the game. Oh, I've fallen down a thing and now I'm sliding down water. Ooh, what happens if I hit that thing of wood?
Yeah.
And then she gets impaled.
Yeah, like
and
through
she
the
gets-
face. Again, just like in every.
It's so funny, but aside from the comedic factor of watching Laura die over and over and over, just as a game, it's just really well done. Just,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in every aspect, the gameplay is outstanding, the story is outstanding, the graphics are beautiful, and I'm not like a graphics whore. I don't need graphics. I mean, we were just talking about Braid in Minecraft.
Yeah,
I
the
don't
game will
need
stand on its
graphics,
own.
right? But this has that on top of all that. It's like the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And it's just such a beautiful experience overall. It's worth playing for anyone.
It is the rightest done reboot I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you can tell the people who were in charge of it had a great deal of respect for the source material, and that was a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, the last one on our list, The Last of Us, which just came out in like the last month, and wow, what a moment for gaming in general.
You can sum up that game just by saying wow.
Yeah, it truly was just this kind of jaw-dropping moment, and to come in so late in the game in terms of this console generation, I mean, what a feather in Sony's cap to have exclusivity on that game.
Yeah.
The story of Joel and Ellie is timeless in a weird way because it takes place in this kind of place devoid of technology. They never really rely on anything that would make it kind of fade in that way, and it's just the voice acting superb. Troy Baker, who's also the voice of Booker DeWitt, because apparently the man's just like the Brad Pitt of video game voice acting. Just did a phenomenal job that made these characters really likable.
Everything, and I mean the environment that the game takes place in. It's a little sinister and spooky, but at the same time, it's beautiful. You walk into these cities and there's buildings like crashing down onto other buildings and just stuck in time with vines and flowers and everything growing on them, and you walk through and you find yourself as you play through the game appreciating how beautiful your surroundings are, but still wary of what might be coming out at you.
Right, like it's amazing because instead of a rust-colored cliche, which has been so common in so many games in this genre, They have this really bold, colorful world, and yet still manage to instill a very deep sense of dread in the player. Really well done.
Yeah. And you know, I've never played a game that on this level pulls me into the characters.
Right.
Like I really found that I cared for the characters, and I don't give spoilers, but that end, the very end sequence, like I felt it. I was on the edge of my seat. What's he going to say?
Right.
And I mean, I really felt something for the characters. When I was playing, Joel wasn't saving Ellie. I was saving Ellie. Like I was trying to make it through this. I'm not going to say it. This building, and I was trying to do what I had to do, and it was just this harrowing experience.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I wish more games were like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, they walked a fine emotional line with that by kind of forcing you to connect very much with these characters and then kind of ripping them away for a little bit, and then letting you come back together and being even more pissed whenever you have to deal with that. You know?
Well, and you know, the dialogue, as you're walking, the characters were talking to each other, and you were experiencing feelings for them just in these little scenes while you're walking and doing your thing, and then every now and then those little chat options. You know, Ellie's having a bad day. Let me go over and hit the triangle and see what happened. Like, what's she feeling? And then you start connecting. It was just, wow, it was something else.
Naughty Dog killed it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, that's all we had on this list. Quick honorable mention for me, I'm just going to say Batman Arkham City was incredible just because of it was the best superhero feeling ever, and I can't wait for the follow-up. So that's my honorable mention.
Yeah. Now, it's funny because we talked about a couple of games that we wanted to agree on every game on the list.
Yeah.
And we couldn't. We just couldn't. We couldn't agree on everything because we are different gamers. We expect and want different experiences from our games. I didn't feel like Batman was worthy of the top 10 list. Not that it's a bad game. And Josh just can't stand that.
So wrong.
I love
It's not even a thing. It's just a fact.
Alan Wake as much as I did. I think Alan Wake is, and of course, not nearly on the level of The Last of Us in terms of attaching me to a character. But I felt really attached to Alan Wake as a character. And I think the narrative of the story and just the way it was brought together and, you know, the way you have to experience it through him, just it really all made me feel like I was part of the story. And I loved that game. It was definitely on my short list for the top 10. And when we really started going through them all and, you know, adding your favorites to my favorites and everything, it didn't make the cut. But I think it deserves my honorable mention. Yeah.
That's why we have honorable mentions.
Yep.
I'm not gonna say anything. So those are our picks for the best games of the generation. Let us know what your best picks are, because I mean, Pixar, that sounds really weird. Because we want to know what your best experiences were this generation as well. So please let us know in the comments below.
Yep.
Alrighty, so that's all we've got for this episode of Nerdko. Make sure you subscribe to both of our channels. That's youtube.com/L1Games for Muzz and youtube.com/GeeksPodcast for myself. So I guess that's about it.
Yeah, that's it. So I've got my stuff. My DS, and I've got just in case, because it doesn't work on wood. So it's not great to have in the woods, but you should always have one just in case.
Sure.
And I'm ready. We're going to go backpacking, and I'm going to make Josh into a mountain man, one with nature.
You know what? Let's go do that. But first, I have to get my tackle box. Got to grab some gear myself. You know how that is.
Yeah.
So you just sit tight.
Cool.
I'm going to get that
Fishing?
stuff, and then yeah, absolutely, buddy.
Fishing?
Yeah, just sit tight.
Will you bait my
Relax
hook?
a little bit.
Okay. He'll be right back, I suppose. Son of a bitch. Hey everyone! Okay, so this was the 10th episode of Nerdko, and we are going to take a short break.
Probably for like a month or so.
About a month.
We want to enjoy summer too. It's not all about you guys.
Right. So we're going to take our month break, and then we're going to come back with a new Nerdko Season 2, I guess we would call it.
Yeah.
And bring you some more exciting content after that. So
Lots of exciting things.
yeah, do be prepared for more. We are not going to stop doing the show.
No.
Please do continue to share the first 10 episodes with your friends and your family and the gamers and other geeks and nerds you know, so we can get more views, and we'll have all the more reason to kick it back in when we start over. So anything you guys want to say before we...
No, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss us whenever we do finally come back.
Right.
And I think that's pretty much all we got.
Yeah.
We'll see you in like a month or so.
Yeah, we'll see you in a month.
All right, see ya. Dude, the sniffle made it. that was nice. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, after this, after being there, after experiencing it myself, that's it. I need to blend in with nature. I need to be one with nature. I'm buying a camo jacket. It's going to be sweet. Some Carhartts maybe. I'm getting some Timberlands. I'm getting some boots so I can go hiking. It's going to rock. It's going to be great. I'm going camping and hiking every chance I get from now on. I'm a mountain man. I'm a mountain man. And I'm going to do mountain man stuff from now on. I'm going to be in nature doing it. Like in the woods. Like a bear. I'm going to poop. I'm going to poop in the woods.
Oh my.
That's right. Yes, I'm going to. It's going to be great. Because in the woods, you don't have to worry about what you do and where you do it and who you do it with. You do whatever because it's the woods. That's right. You aren't confined by the restrictions of society in the woods. That's right. And you guys, you need to get out there and experience it. You need to be part of it too. You need to stop sitting around here playing your games and be like me, be out in nature. That's right.
Advice taken.
That's great, man.
It's awesome is what it is. You guys, I'll take you out with me. We'll all go out together. That's right. It'll be great. Because then, hey, no, think about it. Download play. Right?
I think I might have to wash my hair that day.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm defrosting my fridge.
that's because you guys are just lazy. You're just lazy. Too lazy. Lazy.